I don't want to be like, okay, like the longs are going to work. Longs are going to work. We're through one VWAP. I like to watch that second one and be like, okay, well, let's see how we react to the next one. The easy money in trading is going to be always selling back into structure because the odds of that happening is much, much higher than a potential breakout or breakdown on the indexes.
Do you find that you like to trade with the VWAP or to the VWAP more often? This is a very big point of contention.
Like your brain like remembers the uncomfortable suffering and would rather choose that over like a beneficial change. They say basically trade to live, don't live to trade.
You're courtside with Bella at the Lakers game. What are you talking about?
All the Laker girls. No.
What up, traders? Welcome back to the pod. My name is Austin Silver. If you're new, I really appreciate y'all being here. Before we get into it, please make sure you subscribe. I am dropping new episodes every 5 to 6 days, and I don't want you to miss any of them. We recently had Rips from Top Step, the CEO of Top Step, Michael Patak. We've had Chris Cady on the show recently, and a ton of other really, really knowledgeable traders. Now, today, we don't disappoint. We sit down with Tanner, like I said, to talk strategy, mindset, how he got into trading. He even tells us a story about how he was sitting courtside with Bellafiore talking about trading at a Lakers game a couple of months ago. He breaks down what he thinks are the most important tactics and tips when you're trading with VWAP. He also gives some really good like psychology mindset ways to kind of stay present, stay in the moment, which we all need to work on. He talks about his daily report card. I mean, we cover a lot. It's over an hour. So you guys are going to love this. I have no doubt about that. Make sure you connect with Tanner. His links are down below. Make sure you check out the links to our sponsors. Shout out to them. They are linked down below as well. And of course, like I said, make sure you're subscribed here on the channel, wherever you're listening or watching, that way you don't miss any of our future episodes. I've got some good ones coming, so stay tuned. But enough out of me today. Let's get into the conversation with Tanner, the Strong Trader. What's up, traders? Austin from the future. Really quick, I want to just thank our sponsor, Top One Trader. Now, a lot of you have transitioned from CFDs to futures, but I want to suggest that you don't do one or the other, you do both. And if you're looking for a reliable CFD firm, Top One Trader is your go-to. Now, they're based in the US, but more important than that, they actually are still paying traders out. If you go to their Instagram, you'll see last month they paid out over $100,000 to their profitable traders. So if you want to get funded with a CFD firm that is reliable and still paying traders out, and a firm that actually answers their customer support messages very quickly, and I have firsthand experience with that because I have a lot of people in our community that tell me how it's going with Top One, with any of our sponsors, and everyone is still very happy with the work coming from Top One. Just use the link here in the description to this video. I can save you a good little discount. You can help the channel here by supporting and using our affiliate link, and then you could be trading futures and CFDs at the same time, which I think is a no-brainer. So check out Top One. Thank you for being the sponsor. We appreciate Top One very much. And let's get back to the video. Let's get into your story because I'm curious to hear how you got into trading. I know that the powerlifting and the weightlifting have been a big part of your life. So that clearly, like instantly to me, rings the disciplined and committed kind of check boxes, can work hard when he needs to, can really dive deep onto something and not spread himself too thin. But how did you find trading? Was it while you were lifting and you were talking to some guy and he said, hey, you see this trading thing? I'm making money from my phone at the gym. Why aren't you, you loser? Or well, what happened? What sucked you in?
Yeah, so I first found trading in 2017, 2018, roughly. And I was working a corporate job at that time. And a little backstory behind that, like before that, I've always been like entrepreneurial. I've always like kind of like been interested in doing my own thing. So even like right
Yeah.
out of college, I was like, well, what can I do? Like, what can I do here, there? Like, I want to start this, start that. Got a corporate job like all my friends did. I was the first person in my family to graduate college. So I was like, okay, I think I have to use this degree. Got a corporate tech job, worked there. But like while I was there, I was always researching stuff. I was like, okay, drop shipping, okay, I want to build an app with these guys. Like, and because I had the fitness side of house, like I had some guys that I worked with in the tech world that were like, oh, fitness stuff. We know how to like develop apps. Like we want you to help us like kind of develop an app. So I kind of would work with them. Again, I tried drop shipping. I started a gym for a little bit, owned a gym for like a small period of time while I was doing all of that,
Nice.
and pretty much just failed just
Yeah, I'm
failed at
sure that
everything.
gym
Like,
was super lucrative too, right?
yeah, exactly, right? And so it's like, failed really early, failed really young, but, I was 23, 24 at the time, so it was just like, whatever,
The time
trying
to
stuff.
fail. Yeah,
Exactly, and I think that's a big thing too in life is, like, in your 20s is, like, that's a time to take risks and try shit, and so, like, I knew I had
100%.
this mindset of, like, I wanna try things, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to work for myself, like, no matter, like, what it takes. I just gotta keep trying shit. So, I remember I was working at one of my jobs, my tech job at the time, and the Bitcoin boom was just happening. It was like 2018. Bitcoin just hit 10K for the first time. I'm like, what the hell is this Bitcoin? Like, didn't even know anything about it. Friends kind of
Right.
talking about it, other people talking about it. So I'm at work and I'm like, okay, let me throw $1,000 in this, throw $1,000, and then like the next day I'm up like 1,500 or something, and I'm like, oh, I was like, this is sick. And then from there, that kind of like started the bug. And I remember like opening charts at work, having no idea what I was looking at, kind of just having charts up and stuff and being like, this is interesting. I don't have no idea what I'm looking at, but it's kind of cool. Um, and then like, kind of would just invest in Bitcoin a little bit, but like didn't really know anything about like trading per se. And then I was on the way to work one day when I stumbled across Wall Street Bets. Like I think it was like the night before or something, and it was talking about options. I had no idea what options were, any of that stuff, and so I like started to kind of research it a little bit. And I remember I was on the way to work. And I bought a Netflix call, and like on the way to work, I made like $400, like basically like more than I was making like at my corporate job at the time for one day. And so I was like, wait a second. I was like, this is it. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I love this. And then from there, got like obsessed with it. Got lucky again where I like stumbled across an Instagram called Oppinicus Holdings, and it's actually
Right.
these dudes that I still trade with to today.
Hmm.
My mentor Kyle, he's a really good dude. He was based out of San Diego. He's in Texas now. He's been trading I think like 8 9 years now, but just came across his Instagram. He had this little group, kind of just starting it. He'd been trading I think 4 years at the time, 5 years, and he had a course on options, and so I ended up taking that in May of 2019. And then in October of 2019, I thought I was good enough to quit my job and go full-time trading. And that was, I don't want to say it was a mistake because, like, obviously it's, everything kind of happens for a reason, but it was super ballsy. I had about like 50 grand saved up to the time. So I was like, okay, I have some money to fall back on. Single, didn't really have, many expenses, living with some buddies in a house, like by the beach, and um, what I did do smart during that time though is I had worked in the restaurant industry also like a lot of my life. So I was like, okay, I'm going to quit my corporate tech job. I'm going to go back to the restaurant at night and basically work like full time. That way I could trade full time during the day and while I learn. And so pretty much my first like 2.5 years, like it was just me learning, not making any money, losing money, break even, lose money. And then finally around like kind of like 2.5 years, almost 3 years, I like started to flip and like start like make some money. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm starting to make some money. And then I started to dwindle down my days at the restaurant and basically focus on like trading a lot more. And then I started to kind of like pay my bills. And then from there, basically, I'm in my fifth year now. Like I'm like in that stage where like I pay my bills, I'm like trying to grow, but I still kind of find myself like hitting speed bumps here and there when I don't
Hmm.
like have like maybe other income coming in here and there. And so that's something I like still probably struggle with a bit personally, development wise though. But yeah, overall story, it's been about 4.5 years of just grinding, man, and like eating shit, learning, and just not giving up, honestly.
Bro,
So
it's a great story and super relatable. I'm sure the audience can relate in many, many ways. What was the restaurant? What kind of food were you serving?
it was like a pizzeria sports bar, so pizza.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was
I
like it
started
was.
washing dishes, bro, back when I was in high school, and I had a reputation at a restaurant for a long time because I worked my way up at the restaurant while I was still in high school, and I just wanted money on the weekends. I then ended up getting into the entertainment business and worked as a DJ on the weekends. So I did something similar while I was learning how to trade. I worked on the weekends. I didn't work at night during the week. I worked weekends. So it was like Friday. Now we look forward to, you finish trading on the week, you go to enjoy the weekend. My life was not like that, bro. It was balls to the wall. As soon as Friday night hit, we're DJing something Friday night, probably two parties Saturday, and then a party on Sunday. So my weekends were slammed, but that gave me the freedom to study. And in my first 4 years, I sucked, bro. So it's awesome that you sought out mentorship because that definitely, it sounds like shortcut the learning curve from you with this guy, Kyle. When you got into trading, what markets were you trading? And now what are you trading? Is it still the same? What's up, traders? Before we continue with today's video, I have to give a shout out to our sponsor, TradeZella. Now, TradeZella is a trade tracking software that I wish I would have had when I first started trading. I ran from my mistakes for the first basically 2 years of my trading, where I would not mark up and study my losses. I didn't want to confront those painful trades. What I should have been doing was using a software like TradeZella to tell me exactly how to take those painful moments and turn them into strengths. So with TradeZella, you're going to get all the data that you need in order to figure out what are you doing that's helping you make money and what are you doing that's costing you money. Now, with TradeZella sponsoring the podcast, you have two options. You can either use the ASFX 10 discount code for your monthly membership or the ASFX 20 discount code for your yearly membership. The monthly code is 10% off monthly memberships. The yearly code is 20% off for the year. So I recommend you do the yearly membership because it's not like you're just going to want this for a month. You're going to need this year over year. 20% is a nice chunk of a discount. So shout out to Umar and his team for throwing that my way. That is not something you'll find with their other, sponsorships and their other influencers. 20% is tough to beat. So use the link down in the description. Use that ASFX 10 or the ASFX 20 code when you check out, and it'll save you some bucks. But the longer you put this off, the longer you delay profitability. So confront the mistakes, confront the losses, and get better 1% every day. TradeZella will help you do it. Now let's get back to the video.
Yeah, good question. So I've only traded options a majority of my career, probably like the first 3.5. Now pretty much I almost exclusively trade futures. I got into futures about like 6 to 8 months ago. And so kind of going through like that whole learning curve of like understanding risk more than anything, obviously understanding the products. But with my options trading, a lot of the reason I kind of got into futures trading is because with options, I had a lot of individual name setups, whether it was like an earnings gap play, second day play, daily breakout, like whatever it is.
I've seen options traders with that. Same kind of
Yeah,
thing.
so I had a lot of those setups, which worked well when they did work, but I found most of my edge was only during earnings season. So I got really good during earnings season, and I would have like these great months. But when it wasn't earnings season and it was like more like off season, I was just so up and down, like, not understanding what I could trade, and it became frustrating. And so my mentor actually he got into futures actually around that time, and he was like, hey, you should check this out. This is actually really cool. It's like completely retaught him how to like think about risk.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing too, where futures have been a blessing for me in the sense of the learning curve, because with options, you can get away with like momentum runners, right? You can buy highs, continue higher, especially
sure.
depending on like if it's like an earnings, a good earnings play or something like that. You can chase momentum, like, and you can get away with that like a lot. With futures, you know, as you know, 15% of the time we're trending, and then 85% of the time, like we're reverting to the mean. So if you do not understand good risk reward, you are just essentially buying from the top and just getting smoked. And one really good, really good piece of advice, this is for everyone out there, is my mentor taught me this saying. He's like, in trading, we're going to take losses, right? And he means like, we're going to fall. So he's like, so when you take losses, you fall. And when you go to fall, he's like, wouldn't you rather fall off the sidewalk and scrape your knee versus fall out of the skyscraper window? So that analogy to me, I was like, oh, okay. He's like, don't buy high day breakout. He's like, look to come into support. We're barely testing it. You get long down there, and if you're wrong, you lose a couple points, you're fine. But if you're right, you have this great risk reward versus buying at the top and your risk potentially has to be at the bottom of the structure. And so that for me is like kind of what clicked a lot with futures trading, where I was like, oh, okay. And that redefined risk for me, like completely changed the game of thinking about like how to enter trades, what I'm looking for, and then just catching yourself too. Cause there's so many times, even like today's a great example of how we kind of like rallied all hard during the morning. Like it was really hard for me to justify being like, okay, like I want to buy in this pullback. I'm like, I need a level, I need some more market structure. Like I need something of my system and my edge to tell me to take this trade, but I don't want to chase momentum because I know normally if I do this, I'm going to get smoked most of the time. So
Great input. What time frame do you trade? I'm sorry to rattle these questions in the beginning, but I know my audience probably doesn't know you, so I want them to get a lay of the land for how you trade. So, what time frame? I know you said futures, and you're not. This is not ICT. This is not something you built. So, how would you describe what you trade? Like, are there specific? Are you market profile, volume profile? Like, what are you doing? Moving averages? Give us a little bit of that picture too, please.
yeah, good question. So I am a discretionary price action based trader. focusing mainly on like bigger picture to smaller picture timeframes. I'm entering on the 2 minutes, I'm monitoring on the 5 minutes, and then I'm managing kind of based on the 15. But it
Mm,
all comes from top down. So I'm always looking first at like the daily chart. The daily chart rules
sure.
all for me. Like I'm trying to create my initial thesis based on the daily.
Okay.
And from there, like I said, I'm going intraday, like in the smaller picture to find potential entries. So for my actual system, I primarily trade levels. So I'm looking at key levels, whether it is a key level on the daily, a lot of psychological levels. You could see in NQ a lot, whether it's like 1800, 18100, like whatever it is.
Yep.
Um, I'm a big pullback to VWAP guy. I think VWAP is like honestly one of the greatest indicators because it's like it could be so black and white and it's very, very simple. You just have
S-
to know like little
So
nuances
true.
behind it.
Hmm.
And for me, like that's honestly one of my like most highest paying strategies. And I look for like almost on the daily. And kind of back to what I was saying earlier, like I wanted to find something in futures I could trade daily. I could find
Yep.
every single day and it was pretty consistent. And I found that a lot with pullback to VWAP, honestly.
Yep.
And then the last thing I trade besides reaction to key levels, VWAP, is near-term volume point of control. So I find this on the 15-minute chart a lot. And it's basically, as you know, for people out there that don't know, it is the volume that prices contracted and been transacted at
The
within
most.
a certain, yeah, the most within a certain time frame. So you'll see like basically the volume profile within a certain area, and those generally create like good areas of support or resistance, and they will act like magnets a lot of the time. And so
Mm.
with that, I'm still probably kind of like dialing that in a bit more. And it's really interesting, actually, kind of just the process of trading, like diving in and learning stuff.
Great information on that. You mentioned NASDAQ. Is NASDAQ the preferred asset?
Yes, so primarily NQ, MNQ for the most part. I'm trading prop firms, so doing huge risk and on these prop firms is something I have just gotten so smoked on and so in trouble with in the learning curve. So I find it with trading MNQ, especially on the funded accounts, it's just safer and better. So MNQ is pretty much the main asset I trade almost every single day. I look at ES sometimes. I've messed around with oil here and there, not a huge fan, but ES and NQ. I would say primarily NASDAQ is what I focus on though.
Great. So now that we all have an understanding for what you're looking at, Tanner, I have a lot of questions because I trade with VWAP too. And I'm
Lovely.
trying to learn more about the point of control and the volume profile because I'm very interested in that. I'm
Mhm.
having a hard time. We're going into the weeds here, people, but I'm having a hard time. Why some days do we pull back to point of control for the session of today, where other days we don't come back to point of control? And now you just brought up a 4 hour point of control. So then my thought goes, well, maybe it's getting pulled by a bigger magnet at some other range of volume profile. Is that the answer?
Yeah, so I don't say I have a definitive answer for it, but your assumption I would assume is
Uh,
true. I base
Something.
it
Yeah.
based on the session. So like
Yeah.
really what I'm trying to focus on is like on that session, if the volume point of control is like, 2 to 300 points away on NQ, I'm like, this is the far reach. Like, like I only need 40, 50 points a day. And I'm like, that's more than enough. I'm good. So I'm like, if it's a really far reach, like, yeah, I'm going to keep the level there, but I'm not as concerned. But if we are within reach of a notable volume point of control on that smaller time frame and then potentially on a bigger one, I want to have eyes on it. So I really just think it again, that comes from the daily, right? Where are we on the daily? So it's like
Sure.
the that for me is how I kind of utilize it. So there's some days where it's like volume point of control, like I said, is just too far. And so I'm like, okay, I have this level on here, but like I'm not shooting for this to be a target. I'm not being like super ambitious with this. It's just like, let me focus on VWAP today. Like that's it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. When you trade with VWAP, can you give us some specific VWAPs that you use? I like the start of day VWAP from the start of the Asian session. I like high of day VWAP. I like low of day VWAP. What do you like to use?
Yeah, so I use just the static, pretty much 24-hour VWAP that kind of resets every session
Yep.
and nothing else. I don't use anchored VWAPs. I don't use, any other special fancy VWAPs. I just use the basic VWAP. I will give some sauce here that has really
Come
helped
on.
me.
Come
I
on.
watch I watch QQQ VWAP and NQ VWAP. So I have them both up on my screen because what I've noticed is
Hmm.
if we break one and not the other, the one that is next still has a lid on the index itself until otherwise proven otherwise. So it's like I've
Interesting.
seen this I've seen this play out a lot of times. And that's why actually I really like it because you can get a pull, you can get where it's like sandwiched. Like let's say NQ VWAP's trading at 18100 and let's say QQQ, I know it's not the same, but like let's just call it like 1850, right? Or 18,050.
Yeah.
So
So there's a
if
50
we
point difference.
correct. So if we break QQQ VWAP,
Mhm.
I don't want to be like, okay, like the longs are going to work. Longs are going to work. We're through one VWAP. I like to watch that second one and be like, okay, well, let's see how we react to the next one. And what I've noticed a lot of
That's
time
interesting.
is if we come up into the next one and that lid stays on, meaning we can't get through it, or like,
The other one
maybe we
doesn't go higher.
can overshoot or whatever, like we're probably going to get a reversal. So it's like
Right. That makes sense.
that second stacked VWAP for me has helped me really have number one better entries, have number two better risk reward, and just always remind myself, like in terms of like getting lost in the sauce and the charts in the moment. I'm
Yeah.
like Tanner, we haven't broken the second VWAP. Don't get long yet. Don't get long yet. You need to stay short. You need to focus on being short. Where like today we smashed through both of them right away and we kind of just continued and never really got a pullback. So it's like, but again, that's confirmation. I'm like, okay, we broke through one, broke through the other. Okay,
Now
we're
we
not
go.
coming back below. Like we're pretty bullish right now. So yeah.
Yeah. How many trades a day are you looking to take?
So this is a great question and something probably I've struggled with the most. In my daily report card, so I know you have a daily report card
I
in
do.
all of your good stuff. I don't know how you have it set up because I have my own version that I've kind of created and I've gotten tidbits from Lance Brightstein. We'll get into that in a second too. I like met a bunch of these people at Traders for a Cause. Really cool guy. But on my daily report card, I always try to have it focused on a process goal, and one of my main process goals is taking 3 trades a day max. And because I struggled with overtrading for so long, and like a lot of clients that come to me struggle with overtrading. And so 3 trades a day max. And I just notice anytime I break it, it never like 8 out of 10 times, nine out of 10 times, it hurts me more than it benefits me.
Of course.
So it's like the more I can just focus on hitting that 3 trades a day max and not forcing anything else, it just does so much more wonders for your trading. Number one, your mental capital is so improved because
For sure.
that's the thing that probably frustrates me the most and hurts me the most personally. And this happens probably to tons of traders, but like the more trades you take, the more decision fatigue you are acquiring. Therefore, the shittier you're probably going to feel the rest of the day, clouded, tired, can't work on other projects. Like that is literally like what happens when you do too much. Like
Yep.
there's a saying where like traders make more decisions than the average person does for their entire day. We do that in like the first like 30 minutes of our day. So it's like you have to put that in factor and think like the less you can press the button, it's going to save you capital and just save your brain. So yeah, 3 trades a day max is how many I shoot to take.
How do you stay disciplined to that?
Good question. So I use the daily report card. That's for sure my number one thing. I use this with all my clients too. I have them use the daily report card because it focuses on that process goal. And I'm big on the daily report card being where if you're giving yourself A's and B's, you should be making progress in your trading because it's just like in school, right? And yeah, it's the daily report card for how I teach it is like it's focused on a process oriented goal. So it's like whatever that goal might be. For me, take 3 trades a day max, like that's part of the process. And so the discipline in seeing that like I'm not doing that, it all unwinds in my trading. Like
Yeah.
it's black and white. Like that is black and white. I was like, if I don't follow what I'm saying I'm gonna do, yeah, I might have some days where I hit it here and there, but it doesn't matter. Like the month's gonna be shit if I'm taking too many trades and I have a bunch of C's and D's and F's on my report card. It's just how it works for me personally, and it's what's worked with my clients too, because a lot of them like, I have one client who he's like, I don't think I could take less than 5 trades a day. And I'm like, okay, well, like you're going to take 5 max. And then like he would have days, oh, I took more today because this and that. And I'm like, dude. And he's like, oh, like, I'm like, you will continue to spin your wheels and get frustrated until you respect this. And so a lot of it is like sitting yourself down. Accountability is a huge thing. Like having my mentor, like still like reach out to him, have him check in on me. And me with my clients, like, the accountability, like I have a messaging app where I message them daily or like check in with them daily. That's the accountability aspect, right? And I know like,
Huge.
you coach a bunch of traders and stuff. It's like accountability in trading is everything.
Yeah.
And you need to have accountability from other traders. It's like, it can't be your girlfriend. It can't be your wife. It can't be, it can't be your friends. Like it has to be other traders because like these people in your life, number one, don't understand what you're doing fully. And number two, like it's it's easier to be honest with other traders who are there to see you just succeed versus it is like with your significant other or whoever else, is because like you don't want to let them down, so maybe like you're not telling them the full extent of what's going on, or like maybe you don't want to like show your friends that you're struggling in trading and you're doing
Of
super well, so
course.
you don't want to tell them and stuff like that. So I think accountability is probably like the best thing to keep the discipline going.
I love everything you're saying, bro. That's why I'm letting you talk. I'm trying to not cut you off. Great stuff. Great answer. I think community is huge, bro. You know, I have had my coaching program for about 4 years. After the first guy, James Bruce, he's the bald, always identify him as the bald South African guy. James has been with me since then. He was the first guy that I helped make over six figures with funded companies. Ended up getting personal capital from some investors, and he's done very well for himself. He's actually getting married on the 18th in 10 days. So very exciting for him. And James and I have grown the coaching program over the last couple of years to now where we have two other coaches. So there's four of us. And I'm sure you're going to do something similar where you take successful students and you help alleviate your time. And what I've noticed is, like you said, if you're not improving, something's wrong. But what we've seen, even just in the last month, bro, I have had so many people pass Top Step combines more than I've ever had. And I can't attribute it to Top Step. I can't attribute it to markets. I can't attribute it to just the coaching. I give one little piece of credit to the coaching. I think that is we get better as coaches. We challenge people better. We ask better questions, right? But also, I think it's the community. I think it's the coaching and the accountability in the community together that make these guys pass more now than ever before. Because I tweeted about this yesterday. A rising tide truly does lift all ships. You surround yourself with guys that make a lot of money. Chances are, at least more in your favor that you make a lot of money than if you didn't do that. So same thing with trading. You surround yourself with good traders, people with a lot of experience. I mean, bro, I lost money for the first 4 years. We were just trying to find my Traders Way brokerage statements, funding $50, $75, $100 Traders Way accounts and just blowing it. So I've gone through, like you have, a lot of the ups and downs. And now to be able to shortcut that for people, it just seems to be getting faster and faster. So by surrounding yourself with those people, it seems to work better, which is awesome. And I love community because trading alone sucks anyway. So I totally agree with everything you're saying about the accountability. Now, if we can go a little bit deeper into the VWAP stuff, you said that you like the daily VWAP. We call that the daily VWAP, the start of day, start of session VWAP. When you are trading, do you find that you like to trade with the VWAP or to the VWAP more often? This is a very big point of contention. Do we trade long when we're above the daily VWAP only? Or do we sometimes be willing to short back to the daily VWAP from above it and vice versa on the sell side?
Good question. So what I love about VWAP is, and this is with everything in trading, I think it's just like it's a reference point, right? It's nothing that's perfect. It's a reference point. It's a reference area. I think a general rule of thumb for most beginning developing traders is you always want to stay long if we're above VWAP or short if we're below it. That's kind of just a general rule of thumb because it's like it's a black and white thing for the most part. But depending on what time of day it is and like all these like other little nuances, there's sometimes where I might like, let's say the market's selling off into a big area, a big key level. It's selling off into
Sure.
a key level, daily support, whatever it is, and we're starting to find a little bit of buying come in. I am potentially looking to take a long down there and target VWAP always. So VWAP still comes in as the target. So like, and I'm really big on this with my trading with futures is I want to take the easy established money that I know has a higher probability versus shooting for the stars always. So that means if there is intraday structure already established, I am looking to sell into that structure. I do not need the new high a day. I do not need this breakout. It's like, yeah, do I want it if I have a runner or so? Of course. It's like, you have a system and you build around that. But the easy money in trading is going to be always selling back into structure because the odds of that happening is much, much higher than a potential breakout or breakdown on the indexes. So,
Totally agree.
yeah.
Do you lean more long biased overall because you're trading NQ and because US markets go up? Or do you lean more short biased based on you don't sound too cynical of a guy, Tanner. So I'm going to guess you're not a short. You're not like a strong bear. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm not the short bear. Um, so I'm mainly a long bias trader, I would say for sure. And actually it's a good data point I should probably look into more. I definitely do short, like don't get me wrong. I find that my eyes like the charts going long a lot more, structurally speaking. Like it just makes
Yeah.
more sense to me. It's something I'm really been used to. I started in, 2019, 2020 when everything went up. So my eyes are accustomed to that.
Maybe if we
Um,
go through a 2008 scenario together, we'll change our bias, but I'm the same as you.
Oh yeah, for sure, exactly. But I mean, even those huge bounce days, the dead cat bounce days, it's like those are great. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm more of a long bias trader, I would say personally.
Nice. Um, like the reason I asked that is like today, I am also a long bias trader. I had longs this morning pre-market on ES towards the daily VWAP from 52.02. Got stopped on those as we took out 5,200. Got long again at 51.92, so about 10 points lower. Took that long into the open, closed the trade at the daily VWAP right there at that resistance level. So I'm actually really liking that trade from a level, long bias because I lean the long, and then trade it to the daily VWAP and have an easy take profit. And I'll give you some sauce since you're giving my listeners some sauce. I know you don't use anchored VWAPs, but if you study Brian Shannon, I know you probably know Brian. He's the
Mhm.
godfather of the VWAP, right? I've had him on my show before. He did some really good screen share. I love his stuff and I love his new book. I tell everybody to read it. He said this once, and I took it very seriously, and it's made a big difference. He said, when you're buying, don't buy the dip, by the strength after the dip. And what that means is if you anchor a VWAP to the high of day, when that high of day VWAP is taken out, with this is what he said on a tweet, I have the picture of it, with 100% certainty, buyers have now stepped in and have taken full control. And that's typically when we'll get our accelerated movement. Now, does it work all the time? No, of course, it'll break back down. And that says sellers are starting to take back control. But that has helped me find some really high probability, like timing the longs. Now, am I getting the best price? No, definitely not, because you're not just buying the dip randomly, but you're getting that momentum type trade where it should work for you very quickly. And then same on the sell side. So I know you'll follow this. On my long today at 51.92, I have a low of day VWAP. Low of day is 51.88. So that VWAP started about 4 points lower, and it's now starting to carry higher over the let's say 20 minutes. And then from when I take the trade long to where that bottom was set in it, let's say 15, 20 minutes. If that VWAP from that low is broken, that means 100% certainty sellers have stepped in. So that tells me, hey, bro, you should piece out of this long. Now, on the first trade that I lost this morning, I had it in my notes in the beginning. If it breaks the low of day VWAP, I'm going to take half off. But because I was trading Combine with Top Step, I was like, nah, I'm not going to take any off. I took full loss, hit max daily loss on the Combine. Took the second trade on the XFA, and I was willing to say, and I took it really seriously because it's a funded account. If that VWAP from the low breaks, that means sellers are stepping in. I got to get out of the long. It didn't. It held the VWAP beautifully. If you put it on your screen, you look at it later, and it ripped right up to the daily VWAP. So using that as like a support level of when to get out of longs back to the VWAP has been super helpful too. So I'm not just always taking the breakout trade on the break of the VWAP to the downside or to the upside. I'll use it as a moving level too. You should check it out. I think you'll really like it, especially because you sound like you're very knowledgeable about the VWAP. So now that I gave you some sauce, I'll hit you with a question. What about something like average true range, average daily range, anything like that? Because I'm sure you've noticed, even since 2019, with you paying more attention to the indices, they have some of these days where we are sideways and we don't go anywhere. And then we have these outsized days. So how do you measure the potential in a move on a daily basis?
Good question. So yeah, I do use ATR, average, average true range, and just always kind of like referencing based on price action what's happening. So it's like if NQ is stuck in like a 60 to 80 point range, I'm like the ATR on this is 300. I'm like this is ridiculously low. And so when that is starting to happen, like really close to the open, or here's another thing as well. So I am really big on time. I don't particularly trade ICT, but I do think there's some gems in his models when it comes to talking about time. Because
Tell me.
with indices, what I really notice is time really, really matters. So I personally have developed a rule in my trading where I do not take any trades until at least 25 to 30 minutes after the open. And this is personally from number one, my own data. I just like it's so hit or miss for me near the open where I can just get stuffed. And it's like I'm sure
Oh, yeah.
obviously tons of traders know like it's the wild wild west. Like you're either going to get smoked or you're going to hit it big and you think you're a genius.
Right.
And so for me, I would rather trade the more safe trades, and for me that happens right around that 30-minute mark. Another little piece of sauce is it's called 10 a.m. reversal time. So it's like you'll notice this a majority of days where price will tend to reverse at 10 a.m., 10:05, roughly around there. It doesn't always reverse. Sometimes you'll get confirmation that we're going to continue. That actually happened today. So it's
Yeah.
like using that time-based model of understanding like, okay, we're coming into 10 a.m. Also, 10 a.m. usually has news drop pretty much like most days on the
Yep.
index. And so using that in conjunction with kind of how much I guess we've already moved in terms of the ATR question. I can kind of gauge potentially how big of a move we can go. And then again, just like tape and price, that kind of just comes from screen time. Is like when the more I sit in price and it's really, really sideways and ugly, the more I tell myself, I'm like, you don't want to be trading this. Like this is headache material. This is noise. I'm like, I want to be in like this should have already gone. This should have already moved, like type scenarios.
Yeah.
And you'll see that, that contraction a lot when we have sideways days or sideways range days. And kind of last thing is I have a rule in my trading where I'm done every day. I'm on West Coast, so I'm done every day by 8:30 a.m. Pretty much no matter what. Sometimes maybe I can extend it like closer to 9, but it's like I know personally, like that midday lull, I just don't have any edge at it. I never really have. It's not my type of thing. I also just don't want to be at my fucking computer. Like it's just like I don't want to be here at that time. Like I
Wait, bro, you're
want to
telling me you
like
didn't get into trading to sit at the desk for 10 hours a day? Really? And wake up on West Coast time at 6:30. Market open is at 6:30, so you're probably up at 6, 5:30. You don't? Are you
5:30.
sure?
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm big on routine. I'm really big on habits and routine. It's huge. And I just don't want to sit here, man. Like I want to. One of my favorite parts of my day, favorite fucking parts of my day is
Tell me.
after I'm done trading, I go and get a coffee and I go and read in my car. I read something either on trading, on personal development, on like whatever it is at that time. I literally sit in my car, drink a cup of coffee and like unwind from the charts, and I read like 10 to 20 pages of whatever the hell I'm reading, and then I take a walk. I'll walk for like 20, 30 minutes, go on my stories, like, respond to DMs, like whatever it is. But like I'm very grateful to live pretty close to the beach, so it's like I can literally leave and be there within like 10 minutes from my house. And just getting out of the vortex of my office, I'm just like get me the
Oh,
hell out of
dude,
here.
makes such a big difference.
Yeah, it's huge. So it's like that unwinding and getting away from the screens. I'm just so big on it. So when I see people sitting there midday lull, like going like, even if we are rallying or selling hard, and this is just something with experience, like where I'm like, I don't fucking care, dude. Like I'm like, I have a model that I am trading based on a system I personally am building for my life. And like
Right.
that's the coolest part of trading is like you can build it around whatever works for you. It's like if
100%.
you only can trade power hour, that's fine. Then only get good at trading power hour. If you only can trade the middle of the day, that's fine. Then only do that. It's like find what section of the day works for you best and then trade that and get really good at it and understand all the nuances behind that specific area of how things look, how things should continue, et cetera, and then go live your life.
I love that. I love that because you know what's enough, bro. That's what you're saying. You got to have enough, everybody. Like you have to be able to say, okay, I've made money today, or I've lost money some days, but I'm not going to keep trading. And what happens is you end up at the desk all day, roping yourself into trading. You don't even have self worth outside of trading. You take every loss or every win as that is defining who you are. And it's like, whoa, bro, newsflash. No one actually gives a shit about your trading. If you win, people are going to say, oh, that won't last. If you lose, people will say, ha, I told you so, and everything else. So you have to like almost disassociate your own worth from your trading. And part of that, I think, is dealing or while doing that, you're going to come across the issue that inevitably comes up for almost every trader I've ever worked with, which is overtrading. I was guilty of it. I've made other mistakes too, but overtrading is a massive issue. And you touched on it earlier in the podcast. And I also want to, before we, get to the end of our conversation, I want to talk about some of the other influences. You mentioned Lance and the Traders for a Cause guy, but
Mhm.
let's talk about overtrading first. What do you think really is the fix for overtrading? Like what actually can traders do to stop?
I really think utilizing the daily report card in some sort of tool that allows you to fully look at the process and the habits you're doing on a day-to-day basis is really the key, is really like the only answer to do it. Because you need to judge and understand your progress of how you're making progression in trading based on your process. Like I literally have, can't really see it, but on my wrist, I have process, progress, consistency tatted because I'm like, those are three words I try to live by. It's not just with trading. Obviously, this has been a huge impact of like, lifting weights and everything in
Of
my life.
course.
But it's like, if you can grade yourself based on your habits and your process and like understand and just trust that like, doing less is going to make you more in the long run. And I know it's so hard to see, especially when you're in drawdown, you're just trying to make money, trying to make money. It's like, it's so hard to see that in the moment, but you have to just be like, fuck your feelings and your emotions. Like, I'm literally going to take two trades. One of the best ways I got out of drawdown, like, helped me from my mentor, Kyle, is he's like, I was taking like 6, 7, 8 trades a day. He's like, I want you to take two trades a day max. I'm like, bro, two trades. He's like, two trades. I'm like, I don't know if he's like, you got to do it. He's like, and you're gonna have to like grade yourself and figure out a way to like stick with it. I took that in conjunction with the daily report card, which I got from Lance. and really started to mold that and use that. And like I said, once I started giving myself A's and B's on the report card, I was like looking at my days and I was like, I'm making money. I was like, what the fuck? And
Well,
so
because
like
it's
it's so
it's different, right? Like you get caught up in the act of trading, which takes you out of the thought of how do I actually take money out of this business that I'm trying to run.
mhm,
We're all programmed to think, especially you. I mean, look, with weightlifting, more practice in the gym, more focus in the gym, more reward. Not in
mhm.
trading. We have a saying: do less, do it better, do it bigger. Trade less, always. Do everything less. Really, less noise. Get better at it. Be a specialist, and then you get bigger over time. Bigger profits, bigger size, etc. So that's exactly
Mhm.
what you're saying. But let me ask you this: let's not be superficial and surface level. I just don't think trading is for everybody, and I think some people need to stop. Have you crossed that yet with some of your students? Of like, I don't know if this guy's ever going to be able to control himself. He's 30 trades deep every other day. If I'm not sitting there with him helping him, what is that really someone that's going to be successful in this long term? What do you think?
Yeah, so I have crossed that with a few people I've mentored, and they don't want to be mentored anymore. Like they stop coaching, and because I'm giving you all the solutions, I'm giving you all the answers. Like, but if you're not willing to look in the mirror and help yourself, it's like, I'm like, I don't know how much further I can potentially push you. And so like, they don't want to continue with the coaching because like, they're like, oh well, I'm just like they'll have like the streak of like doing well, and they'll have one day where they just like shit hits the fan. They're like, oh, this isn't working. I'm like, it just worked for like 10 days in a row, but you had one day where like you just went. Like you're gonna have when you're trying to make progress at anything, it's like you're going to have days where you still slip up. It's like we're not
Yeah.
perfect. It's like in trading, and the more you can be like, okay, like I fucked up today, but let me not let it bleed over to tomorrow. So it's like
Right.
but some people just can't do that. And then people that still repeat that overall, but keep fighting, I think they still have a chance. Like, it's like, I think those people have a lot of grit. And it's like, it's basically just like how much you're going to bleed and put yourself in pain until you're willing to like really finally make the change. Otherwise, people just quit, right? People just give up. And I think it depends probably how deep in the game you are. It's like, if you're a year or two in, like, it's probably
It's
easier to
easier to
quit.
quit. Yeah.
If you're 3, 4, 5 years in, like, God, if you're 5 years in, it's like, you're like, you better fucking figure it out. It's like, you will figure it out. And like, that's like, even for me, where I'm at in my personal journey, like I said, I haven't had like a breakout year yet, but like I'm paying my bills, I'm consistent, I'm like, I'm trying to get to that next level. And for me, I think a big part of it is I put a lot of pressure on myself with my trading because I'm like, oh, I want to like produce all this income from trading. It's so great. But then, like I said, when I have other income coming in from either coaching or whatever else I have going on the side, I'm a guest trader for simpler trading as well. Like I'll like do some like webinars and stuff for them. It's like whenever I have that stuff coming in too, I notice I trade better. So
Of
it's like to
course.
everyone out there who's like, I have to trade full time. I'm a full time trader. It's like, dude, you don't. It's like yeah, you could technically be full time, quote unquote, but it's like learn to have other streams of income coming in. And like I even when I was at Traders for a Cause by the way, have you ever been to Traders for a Cause?
I haven't. You know why? Because I'm kind of butthurt that I haven't been invited yet.
Oh, well, just go. Number one, you'll be. It's great.
It's
I
my frail little short man syndrome, my little ego.
Well, you just have to. I just bought tickets, so I went last
I
year.
know.
Yeah, I went last year, and you'd probably be a great speaker there too. I'm sure they'll invite you one of
That's what
these
I'm
days.
waiting for.
But
Come on, guy Nathan who runs that? I tried to DM him, Investors Underground. I tried to DM him
yeah,
once and get him on the podcast. Never answered me. I know Sanglucci. I know a lot of the guys. I don't think Lance would like me because I have FX in my social media handle. So I think he'd instantly
mm,
fucking have a bias and hate me, even though like I have a track record and I like all the stuff that he talks about. I can show all that. But that's my own little side issues with Traders for Calls, but they're not issues. It's me being stupid about myself and just trying to get big enough to get the invite to be a speaker on the stage. That's all.
yeah. Well, it's like so. First of all, I went to my first one last year in November, and that honestly kind of like changed. That probably helped my social media spark a lot too, because like I'm just like I'm not the best trader. Like I feel like I am a good coach, and like I'm a good mentor, and I feel like I'm a good networker because I worked in the restaurant industry for so long. So it's like I'm good at talking to people. So like when you put yourself in a room with other traders, you realize how many of them are like fucking nerds and they can't really
It's
talk
true.
that well. And so if you can just talk well, you have something like that stands out about you, all of a sudden, like, you have all these giant traders that you look up to coming up to you to chat and talk. And so
Right.
for me, it was a super cool experience because like I said, like I'm kind of just like the small trader trying to develop. I went to Vegas by myself, didn't know a soul. And by the end of that weekend, like everyone was coming up to me and they're like, "You're the strong trader, right?" Like, "Oh, dude, like, what's up?" And I'm like, "This is so sick." And so I ended up befriending Lance, Nathan. I was on Nathan's pod. I've lifted with Lance quite a few times. I went to a Laker game with Lance and Bella.
That's
You know,
awesome.
and so like just the fact that I was like sitting courtside with Lance and Bella, I was like, this is fucking crazy. I used to like go to bed like
That's what it's
I
all
used to,
about, bro. The connections.
yeah, the connections. And so, you know, kind of back to the original thing with that, one thing they said at Traders for a Cause that really, really stood out to me, and this is coming from people that trade like, you know, full time, like it's all about trading, right? They say, like, make trading a part of your life and use it to invest into other things, other businesses. Like they say, basically, trade to live, don't live to trade.
Mm,
And I think it's a really, really, even coming from them, which is super, super cool because it's like, obviously, it's all about trading. And, you know, it's like trading needs to be this endeavor that helps your life in other areas. But it's really easy to get sucked into it and be like, you know, put your worth, like you kind of said, like you're judging your worth based on trading. And it's like, it shouldn't be like that. It's like, it should be this thing where it's number one is challenging you, obviously, and like trying to get better. But it's like, trading is a very like selfish thing, I feel like, because you're just like taking money from other people and like putting it in your own pocket,
yeah.
or losing it, vice versa.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's like use trading as a catalyst to do other good things in your life. And I think it's like that's the beauty of it.
Who else has been an influence on you other than your mentor and those guys from Traders for a Cause? For some of the listeners, I'm sure most of the listeners know all the people you mentioned, other made than
Hmm.
the mentorship that you from your guy. So other
Hmm.
than Kyle and then the boys, who else?
Good question, honestly, because those are pretty much like the majority of them, I would say. I wasn't honestly, I'll be dead honest, I wasn't in the Forex space, so like I didn't know too much of your content, and so I started researching it like recently. And since you like are in the future space now too, like I will say I like a lot of your stuff. Like, you know, it's
Thank
like
you.
not trying to like toot your horn, but like just being honest, like, you know, you have good content, and like I think it's cool when I can like resonate and like talk with people on, you know, process oriented trading. Again, it's like that's like what I like to preach. That's what I like to talk about. That's like those are the good conversations.
Stop
And so
lying,
it's
bro. You know we were talking about Lambos and Rolexes in the DMs.
Lambos and
Don't lie to
Rolexes.
everybody. No.
So
I
like when I
appreciate that.
yeah, so it's like when I see stuff like that, you know, that's like inspiring to me because I'm like, it's cool to see other avenues you can build with it as well. Cause like so much
Yeah.
of the shit is like clickbait out there. But yeah, other influences, you know, S&B Capital for sure, but like Bella, those guys, like I said, Lance, all those dudes, mentor Kyle. And then other than that, God,
No,
like
that's okay.
that's
You don't
pretty
need a
much it.
lot.
That's it.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So here's a good one for you. You're
Yeah.
courtside with Bella at the Lakers game. What are you talking about?
Yeah. All the Laker girls. No. So, um, we're honestly, it was just like we're chatting a little bit about, you know, like the firm and stuff like that. It was kind of cool, just like, you know, because I just wanted to learn how S&B Capital worked. Because like, dude, I used to be obsessed with S&B. I was like watching their videos like every night before I went to bed, like watching something, trying to learn something. Because I really do feel like they give out a lot of good free education. I think
Hmm.
it's like it is advanced in the sense of like you have to be really into trading to kind of understand what
Yeah.
you're watching and like the
Yeah.
nuances behind the stuff. But you know, just being able to like chat like about like logistics of how S&B works. You know, because I didn't really understand like how it works with their prop firm, like real prop firms, all this type of stuff. You know, just things they have coming up and whatnot. You know, I love cross-referencing obviously my lifting and stuff. So like he's has a personal trainer and works out. So we talked a lot about like how that kind of carries over to trading and it's helped and how it helps his guys on the desk and like having a routine of like working out and stuff really helps. Um, and then like we went to like a nice dinner and stuff like that. It was super cool. So yeah, kind of just chatting about just trading life, like S&B stuff. That was pretty much it.
Do you find like when you're hanging out with him, is he the same as he seems in the videos, or is he more chill? Is he like, because you would think a guy that runs a firm wants to talk about trading the whole time. You know what I mean? Like he's like a trading nerd. Is he not?
No, he's not. I would he likes to honestly I'd say he likes to talk about trading like the least honestly.
That's what I
Like
would guess too. It's either one or the other,
yeah.
right? He's either going to not shut up about it, or he's going to be like, "Bro, we're not at the office." Like that's how
Yeah.
I would be. I would be
Yeah.
like, "Bro,
Yeah.
shh, be quiet."
Yeah, honestly, and that's how like even like Lance is a great example of that too. Because like Lance honestly is super great dude. Me and him got like really tight. He's a like just a good friend now. Like honestly, like he's genuinely a friend, which is super cool. But you know, he got super into lifting, and so we would just chat about lifting and like pretty much lifting and just like getting better at stuff. He's really big on like meta learning, meaning like just like how to learn things and get better at them. And so Lance like likes talking about pretty much everything outside of trading. Obviously, there's still like it comes up and we talk about it here and there. But he's big on just like growth mindset stuff. And I think that's what I really like to talk about too when I'm outside of trading with other traders is like growth mindset stuff in other parts of your life. Because again, kind of like we mentioned in the beginning of the episode, like I'm like, I'm trying to become a better power lifter, get stronger, track all my macros, eat all my food, have a better relationship, like get better at trading. Like, it's like all of these things in my life. And it's like all of them require a certain amount of work to get better at. So I'm like just talking with other people and then talking about like, oh yeah, well, maybe this can help you track your food better. Or like, if you work out and do this, this might help you with your timing or like manage your time here or there or there. So it's like stuff like that.
Do you ever think back? Because you haven't been trading that long. Do you ever think back to, I mean, relatively long compared to some people? A lot of people have
I,
quit, right?
I'm
So
a baby still, bro. Like I'm
I could
in my
tell
fifth
for
year.
your vision, bro. Yeah, like where you're trying to take this, you're a baby.
Mhm.
I feel the same way about myself. I still haven't crossed the decade ship yet, so I'm in the same boat as you. What do you tell, if you could? What would you tell yourself when you started trading? Like, where would you say to make a change, if any?
I would say size down and slow down because I lost a good amount of money my first couple years. Just like thinking I needed to size up too fast. And you see this
A
all the
lot,
time because
like
people,
over 50K, over 100K. Like, how much we talking?
oh, I lost about 45 grand. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about as much
And
as I
so,
lost in my first 2
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, it was like, I would say just size down and slow down because you get so desensitized to it, bro. Like it's honestly like it's like scary. I think it can be scary for some, like especially like if you don't have a shit ton of money. It's like if you don't have like $1 million bankroll or something, like casually losing 1,500 bucks on, it's like that's you shouldn't be doing that. Like you
Right.
shouldn't be doing that. So, size down, slow down, and I think the biggest area of opportunity for any developing trader is getting a handle on your red days early on and knowing how to walk away as quick as you can and just like have it be small. It is honestly, it's still something I struggle with personally. I think it's like part of it I think is a little bit of an ego thing and I think part of it is it's a habit that is ingrained because once you have the bad habit of doing like the wrong thing of pushing it, breaking your rules, trying to make it back, like
It's easier to do.
your brain remembers
Yeah.
the uncomfortable. I think there's like some saying in psychology, like your brain like remembers the uncomfortable suffering and would rather choose that over like a beneficial change because it's like your
Yep.
central nervous system like just knows like okay here we go like I'm in drawdown
Muscle
right now
memory,
like
bro. Come on.
yeah
Strong trader,
yeah
muscle memory. Brain is a
yeah
muscle. Yeah.
exactly same thing. So yeah, I would say get a handle on your red days as early as you can, bite the bullet, get rid of your ego on those days, and practice feeling that uncomfortable feeling of like wanting to push it. I did this so like last little tidbit on this. Like this is kind of how I helped a lot of my over trading is I had defining moments with the daily report card where I would literally be on like I'd be on my second trade, I'd take it, and maybe I went from like green on the day to break even. And like I'm sitting there like with my hand on the mouse and I'm like, oh God, I want to take this trade. Like I see the setup and I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, I just want to do it so bad. And I'm like literally devil and angel on my shoulder. Like, Tanner, do you want to grow or do you want to be stagnant? Do you want to grow? Do you want to be stagnant? And I'm just so frustrated. And like I remember specifically being like, oh, fuck you. And I closed the broker and like walk out of my room. And I was like, I did it. I just need to wait till market close now. And like I made it till market close and I was like, holy shit. And like that was like empowering of being able to do that. Cause honestly, it's like a drug. Like it's like it overtakes you and it's overpowering and overwhelming. So it's like being able to do that and having those defining moments of like, holy shit, like that is progress. I don't care if you had a red day or your break even day or small green day, like you just interrupted a habit pattern loop that hasn't been serving you, and that is what you need to continue to build upon because that is how you're going to rewire your brain to do the right thing.
Do the hard shit. Lifting
Do the
weights
hard
is
shit.
hard. Staying in
Hmm.
a routine is hard. Tracking your
Hmm.
macros is hard. Doing daily report cards is hard, but they are the right things to do. Often,
Right.
especially when it comes to habit breaking, the change is very difficult, but it is
Hmm.
normally the more rewarding thing. And it's the worst, especially when you know you should do it and you still don't. I know I should stop eating those Snickers bars at night, but I still don't. You know, it's very difficult to change those patterns when you get sucked into them, even if they're bad or good for you. Doesn't matter. You know, it's hard to make change. I think that's another reason why a lot of people struggle with trading. Trading is that change is very difficult for many people. And in trading, I mean, you've had to transform your body for your lifting and your mind for your trading. It is transformation. So something that I would say, you know, I had another guy on recently. His name is Nick, and he said this: the number one quality that traders need to have is self-regulation. And I think if you can regulate your emotional state as you go through change, we combine your answer and his answer together, and we kind of get a better picture of like what traders should be aiming for. It's this set, like not getting too high, not getting too low, pushing yourself to get better, like James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits, the 1% better every day. It's this mixture of all of that because, like, I'm sure you agree with this. Trading is not perfect. There's no perfect, oh, I figured it out. I fucking got it. I'm done. I'm going to buy my island now. You know, it's never perfect. It's a constant
Mm-mm.
process. So you have to fall in love with it. So what are you doing off the desk other than lifting weights that keeps you balanced? Because one of the things I notice in my coaching program is I'm seeing guys not be balanced, and I'm having to watch guys, two of them specifically in the last few months, get to burnout. I say it to myself a week or two before, that guy needs to not be here. He needs to take a break. He's just running on fumes on trading. He's not done anything. He's not in the gym. He's not doing nothing. What do you advise some of your guys in your coaching program on how to stay balanced more?
hmm So, I mean, number one, gym, obviously, like something to take care of your body. And like, obviously I'm big on lifting and stuff like that, but it doesn't have to be like you need to do some sort of movement because movement is medicine. And I'm a big, big advocate of that. Whether you run, you do yoga, you lift, you play pickleball, like I don't care what you do, but you need to do some sort of movement and like pretty regularly, like at least like 5 days a week. Like I'm very, very big on that. Movement number one, I'm really big on headspace and taking time to like be with yourself. And so, because this is something just to kind of regulate like your nervous system and like your emotions and stuff. And I know meditation can be very hard for people. And I actually know it's this thing that's talked about a lot. Like, unless you've practiced meditating, like you don't really know what it feels like to get in that state. But a
Mm-hmm.
good intro way to do that for people who like just be like, oh, meditating's stupid, I can't do it. It's like just sit down in like a comfortable place that's like calming and just
Mm-hmm.
focus on your breathing for like 5 to 10 minutes and put on a song in your AirPods and just close your eyes. And so doing some sort of meditation like that, I think is another thing to keep you super grounded. Like I said, I have my little routine where after I'm done trading, I go read. I do like I try to like meditate or breathe a little bit, and then
You're
like I
very
walk.
introspective and very
Yes,
mindful. And I hope
yes,
I if I'm feeling that way after listening to you for an hour, I'm sure the listeners are. I think that's your awareness and your mindfulness is why you're able to make the changes that we're talking about. So that's kind of what I wanted to get at. So you're not
yes.
saying you have to be a full-blown meditator. You just have
No,
to learn how to sit with yourself and be still and be present. Is that what you're
be
saying?
correct. Yeah, be present because like we are all as humans just in the past or in the future, focus on this, focus on that. Learn how to be, learn how to breathe, and like take time. I say this with my girlfriend all the time because like she's an entrepreneur, has her fitness coaching business. She does very, very well. She's super successful.
That's
But
awesome.
like all the time I tell her, I'm like, baby, we need to turn off. Like all like we'll be like, okay, we're winding down tonight. Like we're turning off at this time. We're gonna have dinner and we're just gonna like be for a second. And taking time to deliberately do that, I think is super important. I think just the classic entrepreneur grind culture is like go, 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 like sleep when you're dead and stuff like that. It's like yeah,
Sleep
you
with your
need to
phone next to your head, give yourself a brain tumor. Yeah.
yeah, it's like yeah, we need to be working hard, but at the same time, like trading is a performance sport and you have to be mentally in it and mentally ready. In order to do that, you have to take some sort of time out of your day to be mindful. And so I
Mhm.
do think stuff like that is very, very important. Other than that, it's all going to be the work of, the actual chart work, ripping through. Two things I do every single day, no matter what, is daily report card and playbooking. So daily report card, obviously, kind of like we've been talking about, and then playbooking is some people define this a little bit different, but like the way I do it with terms of what's called playbooking is basically I'm going back through the chart, and whether I took the setup or not, I'm documenting the easiest money setup of the day. So it's like whether that was the pullback to VWAP or a reaction to a key level for me or a reaction to volume point of control, I'm finding where that is within the time frame that I'm looking for, right? From right after that 30 minutes up into that kind of hour and a half. I'm looking for the best setup and I'm documenting what it looked like, kind of how it looked like, and understanding like that's what the setup looks like. And this practice of doing this every single day allows me to come into the charts and be like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. Here's my setup.
Pattern
This helps.
identification. It helps
Pattern
you see the
identification.
patterns. We call it,
Correct.
I call it doing chart markups.
Yeah,
And I
same
ask
thing.
myself, where's the money today? Where should
Yep.
I have been in the trade? Oh, I was in
Mhm.
here and here. Should have been here. I do the same thing
Mhm.
in the daily report card every day, markups, 100%.
Yep. Yep.
When you sit down with a new trader, I got a couple more rapid fire questions for you here. When
Rip
you
'em.
sit down with a new trader, what's the first thing you tell them when they say, Tanner, I want to be successful at this. What is the most important thing for me to focus on? What do you say to them?
I say habits, honestly, habits, because like what you're doing on a day-to-day basis literally molds you. And I also tell them the work you probably don't want to do. Like this, it's honestly astonishing to me because like this is really a challenge. I'm just trying to like market my coaching in general because like it's freaking astonishing, dude. How many people don't fucking do journaling, playbooking, all this type of stuff? Maybe they've
Mhm,
never been taught it, but like they think they can just like scurry on and never do any of the review work and be like, oh, I don't know
mhm,
why I'm losing money. I'm like, well, you don't know why you're losing money because you're not fucking looking into it. And so it's
mhm.
like the amount of traders that I coach on just how to learn how to journal and reflect, like honestly, it's like a strong suit of mine now. And it's like everyone tells me like that's pretty much a lot of the value they get from my coaching. They're like, yeah, you taught me all these processes. I'm like, yeah, it's like because this is stuff that you need to do. You need to learn how to do this. And I always find it funny that if I have a sales call with someone like on a new client and they're like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to take some time and try to do that stuff on my own. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what was your last red trade? Like, well, I don't know, but yesterday I remember I lost like, $600 on this. I'm like, okay, well, you just lost a month of my coaching in one day. I was like, would you rather give money to the market or learn or invest in yourself and learn how to do this stuff the right way? And so it's like when I ask that question to people, they're like, oh, okay, that'll usually like kind of get the sale and like help them. But it's just a
Not
reality. It's like,
always,
yeah, not
unfortunately.
always. Yeah,
You
not
know,
always, but
I've noticed, bro, people would rather spend money on funding challenges than buy coaching right now.
oh, for sure, for sure.
They are
But I
hurting
think
our business.
I think it's honestly like, I think it's a dopamine thing, dude. I think
Oh,
that's like
yeah,
it's a
bro.
drug addiction
Because all
thing
these
where
guys are trading from their phone most of the time, too. A lot of these guys are not even trading at a desk like you and me sit down and have a setup and do our thing. They don't journal, they don't document. Bro, I had a guy pay me $4,000 for our mentorship. It's 4 grand for 3 months. This dude did not do a I'm lying, maybe one chart markup the entire program. He would send me screenshots from his MetaTrader phone. And it's honestly, I feel bad. We would talk about baseball for 20, 30 minutes. We wouldn't even do our full hour long weekly session. And I felt bad at the end of it because, like, over after the second week, I was like, I'm not gonna say his name. I was like, if you don't do more markups, if you can't do daily report cards, what do you want me to give you feedback on? What are we talking
yeah,
about? You don't even
yeah.
remember why you took the trade. I
Mhm,
know, I know. And then every week we'd get on and he'd be like, I know, I got to do it. I know, I got to do it. And they still don't do it sometimes. So that's why,
mhm,
going back to my point of like, is this for everyone? We know it's not. But at
mhm.
least for the people that are willing to put themselves out and be coached, those are the people that have a shot. Coachability is a huge, huge,
Huge.
huge aspect to successful trading. Because like even when you're sitting with Bella watching the game, you're talking with me, listening to you're being coached, you're being taught something, either what to do
Mhm,
or what not to do. It's giving you
mhm,
new ideas. It's pushing you forward. If you can't be
mhm.
coachable, I think you're always screwed, you know?
Yeah, in every aspect of life. I have a powerlifting coach, I have a trading coach, like, it's
You
like
have
in
to.
everything. You have to.
You have to. Tanner, this has been good, bro. I know we could keep going. We're a little over the hour already, but this is
Yeah.
good. I am very curious to hear from my audience to see what they would like to have us discuss further. Do they want to hear more strategy from you? Maybe next time we need to do a screen share and go over some of your trades because I know you have a thing like I do where you have a specific pattern with the VWAP where you called it something. It was like a PB to VWAP or something like that. Pull
Pull
back
back
to
to
VWAP.
VWAP, yeah.
So
Mhm,
you're identifying not just playbooking random entries, you're identifying this is a pullback, these are breakouts. So I think it would be
mhm,
interesting, I'm sure, for the audience to see what you're actually looking at. But I also
yeah,
think people are going to hear this and probably be like, this guy is not just a technical guy. There's mindset here too. And I like
mhm,
talking mindset because
yeah.
the losses are what teach us everything. Going through the
Oh, yeah.
down periods and coming out, the Tiger Woods quote, bro, it's not what I achieve that defines my success. It's what I overcome to achieve something that
Mhm.
defines my success. So that to me is everything. And I think it's super relatable to the audience. But for now, we'll put a pin in it. This has been really, really good. And I appreciate you ripping and hitting us with some good rants too. So I appreciate you bringing the energy. What do you want to say to the listeners to finish up? Where can they find you? Where can they connect with you? I'm going to put the links down in the description too, of course.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram at TheStrongTrader. I'm trying to grow that more than anything. Shoot me with a follow, hit me a DM. You can ask any questions that you have. I'm also on X. My Twitter actually is kind of growing, surprisingly.
Get on
I'm
there
not
more. I followed you. You got to
yeah,
get
I'm
on
not
there.
super active, but yeah, I gotta be more active. Same thing at TheStrongTrader. And then yeah, everyone, if you're interested in just learning more about process stuff, like that's the content I post, right? I'm gonna post a lot of my lifting stuff on my stories here and there, but I'm gonna post some funny shit here and there. But like I'm just trying to showcase the process side of trading, and I'm not showing any Lambos. I don't have a Lambo yet, but like I'm just gonna showcase like what it actually takes. Like, right? It's like this shit's fucking hard. And the more you can just kind of be resilient and learn the right things you're supposed to do, keep chatting with people, like Austin and people that are focused on the things you get you further. Like that's how you're really going to grow in this career. And that's the reality of it. So
100%. And to last thing, get on Twitter more, bro.
yeah.
Instagram, the leads suck. The quality of person on there sucks, but we got to be on there. But I have really good conversations with people on Twitter, real traders, like even especially more like of an older demographic. And then there's always idiots too that say stupid things to me. Some guy told me today why we should be dollar cost averaging into our losers. And I'm like, maybe for an
Okay.
investment, brother, but not for a day trader. Show me a day trader that's adding to losing positions and is crushing it. Let's see that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. Maybe a swing trader, definitely an investor, but day trading, you don't want to do that. So you'll have the
Yeah.
right guys. You'll have you'll have good discussion. So yeah, we'll get you on Twitter. We'll get you popping
Yeah.
on there. So cool.
Sweet.
All right, everybody, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of our future episodes. We've got a ton of not just futures guys like Tanner here, some Forex guys coming up, some crypto guys coming up as well. So make sure you guys are subscribed. I don't want you to miss any of our future episodes. But Tanner, really, bro, I appreciate you giving the time and the knowledge, and I know the listeners do as well. So until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.